Giants fans, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of Draft Talk. We're getting closer and closer to the draft as the spring kind of moves along here. And we're pleased to be talking about, one of the most treasured positions in football, obviously, the edge position. Now, one of the things that we got to talk about is, how bad of a need is it for the Giants? Are there going to be some guys that are available for the Giants in the mid-rounds, which is likely when they would take another edge? But first, I want to introduce Damian. Welcome to the show, man. It's such a pleasure to have you on Draft Talk here.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about these edge guys with you guys because we all talk about the quarterback position, how important it is, but you have to have somebody to stop the quarterback, to make it uncomfortable for the quarterback. And these guys are the guys who are going to be the ones doing that for years to come. So I'm really excited about this.
Absolutely. And Truth, as always, man, you're here. You're the shining gem.
I didn't realize I'm a shining gem. And if you see here echoing, look behind me. You see I have no furniture, so I'm actually moving tomorrow. So I apologize if I'm echoing when I'm speaking.
Gotcha. I thought you got robbed for a second. I thought you got that. I just like, oh, all right. At least they left the laptop there for you to join the run.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this class. These guys. On Twitter, we don't talk enough about the edge position for the Giants of a need, but there is a need for that. As you know, we have Tibbs and we have Ojolari, who got hurt a lot last year. So we need depth in that rotational edge position for the Giants.
Yeah. No, you bring up an excellent point, and I think the one thing that we can always, even if we did have talent at the position. The argument you can always make for edges is like you can never have enough. 2005 with the Giants, right? Who'd they get? They got Justin Tuck, right? They already had enough edges. I'm sorry, no, it was the year after that. I'm drawing a blank, and we just had him on the show. Help me out here, Truth.
He's talking about Nick. What's his name? Matthias. Yeah.
Yeah, we already had all the edges that we could have possibly needed, and yet there we go. First round pick of the 2006 draft, they went with him. When questioned why, Ernie, of course, he said, "Look, you can never have enough edges," and that's damn right. This is like, look, obviously the goal here is that Tibbs is going to take that next step forward, and he's going to be like an elite, consistent 10+ sack a year guy. Rookie year, I'm not even going to say it was disappointing. It was a little bit slow, nothing explosive, but I'm sure he'll get there. And then you're right, Azeez Ojolari. Good player, healthy, bring some value, but it's not consistent enough to the point where we would say we're solidified at that position. So, definitely worthwhile to talk about these guys. Edges go very fast. And Damian, man, you're so right. The edge position is the quarterback of the defense at this point in time, right? Sure, the middle linebackers generally call the shots in terms of, what they're going to do, how they're going to, their look is going to be. But at the end of the day, if you don't have an edge, man, it's you're not going to get to the quarterback. It's not going to get it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because if you don't have edge rushers who can get to the quarterback, it affects the rest of your defense in such a major way. And no matter how good your cornerbacks are, they can only guard those great wide receivers for so long. So you need edge rushers to get there in a timely fashion to have your defense set up in a great way going forward. If you don't have that, the rest of it kind of crumbles.
Totally. And there's just so many frustrating times. Leonard Williams had a good season 2020, so we didn't deal with it then. But leading up to that, there's such a gap in our ability to get to the quarterback. And it was so frustrating to watch the Giants. The quarterbacks would have all freaking day.
Yeah.
A couple times we were going against quarterbacks that, really were able to really calmly just assess the Giants' defense and pick us apart. And Damien, you're so right, man. It's like, if you're not getting to the quarterback, it's going to be challenging no matter who your defensive backs are. You're going to have, Patrick Peterson from 2012 back there. He's not going to be able to cover him very effectively, right? Or they're going to get exhausted, bottom line. So, look, we got a good show tonight because there's some good prospects and some interesting ones, too. that we need to talk about, because some of the Giants will have opportunities to get a couple of these guys. The first guy on the list, they're probably not going to get him unless they did some crazy trade up. But you never know. You just absolutely never know what's going to happen. So worth talking about. But real quick, before we get into that, I just want to bring up some of the fans on the show. Darius, man, thank you. You're the first one in here. I knew you would be. Always welcome you on. Mark, always good to have you. Of course, you were on the show several weeks ago yourself. Tudo checking in from Italy. I don't know what time it is there. I won't ask. But, man, it's always surprising when you're on. It'll be like 8 o'clock. It's like, man, what time is it in Italy right now? So thank you for coming on. And, all right, that's it for the comment section for now. We know there's other guys in there.
They'll pop in.
They'll pop in. But, Damian, man, I'll hand it over to you first. I mean, I know that, we kind of go in order here. We're going to start off with Will Anderson. Will Anderson out of Alabama. Probably the first-round pick. Very, it's up in the air right now. But what are your thoughts on him? And scratch that first-round pick. I just thought, no, they need a quarterback right now. Whoever the Bears just traded with.
You mean first overall pick? You just meant to say.
Yeah. I just I was like, wait a second, that's not going to happen right now.
He'll be the first non-quarterback off the board.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. Damian, floor is yours, man. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Will Anderson, man, really good size, 6'3.5", 253 pounds. And has been very, very, very productive, right? His last 2 seasons at Alabama, double-digit sacks, 17.5 the year before last, 10 sacks the last year, and is very explosive. Runs a 4.6 40, but when you think about a defensive end, you want to look at that 10-yard split time, right? And his was 1.6, which is very quick for his size. He's shifty at his size. When I was going back over his highlights, he's very shifty in there, can do great moves where he doesn't have to touch the offensive lineman. A lot of times you want your edge rusher to have that type of move where, they go through and they're able to use their arms, but he's so shifty and so quick that he can go through without touching the offensive lineman and get there even faster. And one thing that stood out is that he doesn't hesitate on mistakes. So sometimes you'll see a play where the offensive lineman have a bust and they'll forget to block somebody, and the defensive lineman or edge rusher or linebacker will hesitate because they're not used to being free. He doesn't hesitate. If there's a mistake made, he just explodes to the quarterback or running back and makes you pay for leaving him open on the block. So I really like the fact that he doesn't hesitate when it comes to offenses making mistakes, and all his measurables add up to him being a very, very good outside linebacker. He's definitely a 3-4 guy, definitely one of those guys. And I think that he'll be very, very good in the league for a long time. So like Truth was saying, he'll definitely be a top 5 pick most likely.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would be very hard-pressed to imagine 5 quarterbacks are going to go first. And like I was saying, likely the first guy off the board that's not a quarterback. When I watch his tape, and Dan, you brought up a point that I couldn't agree more with. How fast he gets to that quarterback is the most, like, when you watch that, it's like, holy crap, because, the quarterbacks don't even have time to try to react. I mean, they just kind of look at him and then they just get demolished, right? So, it's funny, we talk about the 40-yard dash time, the 4.6. That's okay. It's not bad. It's certainly not, anything unremarkable, but that 10-yard split, that's what you want to hear out of these guys. Because, I mean, his ability to pick up speed quickly is incredible. I mean, better than everybody on the list, in my opinion. He is going to be a force to reckon with when he gets to the NFL.
Yeah. And another thing you need to touch on with these guys is that motor. They got that endless motor. One thing Carl Banks always talked about Lawrence Taylor was his endless motor he had, aside from his greatness of talent. So those things really go a long way when these guys, they don't quit on plays. And that's how Will Anderson is. He plays to the whistle. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, I think the big call right now is I think the Cardinals have the 3rd pick. They're suspecting that he is likely going to end up there.
If they don't trade out.
If they don't trade out, the assumption is both the Panthers and the Texans are going to get quarterbacks. That would make sense. And then Will Anderson going to Arizona seems to be the idea here, because the Colts have the next pick, and I think they're going quarterback as well.
Yeah.
So, excellent all-around player, guys. Fans out there watching, you want to check him out. It's fun to watch the highlight tapes. Unfortunately, the Giants don't have much of a chance. If this was last year, we'd be talking differently about this subject matter, but still, just an incredible prospect, and no doubt he's going to be a great player in the NFL.
Sure.
So, Damian, on to the next guy. Another Will on the list, man. Will McDonald, Iowa State. And we're going from perennial powerhouse at Alabama. Now we're dealing with a team that was an up-and-comer in the last few years. They've had success with football teams in the last 5. They had Brock Purdy go from the 49ers. Tell me about Will McDonald, man. I'm always intrigued by these prospects because clearly they did a great job of recruiting in the last 5 years.
Yeah, now Will McDonald really jumps out on tape, 6'4", 240. And the numbers you see from the combine, 11-foot broad jump, 36-inch vertical. Sometimes you hear those numbers, but you don't see it on tape. With him, you see the explosiveness on tape. Like, he's very, very explosive and also has very refined moves for such a young player. He's somebody who can get the rip through, go on the outside, go on the inside, spin move. You know, kind of reminds you of Dwight Freeney back in the day with the spin move that he has.
Yeah.
So he's a very refined rusher already, which really is exciting for NFL teams to think that when he comes in, it's not going to be that much coaching up to do, right? Maybe just little things here and now in technique, but he already has some good moves and technique down. Very productive, 10.5 sacks, 11.5 sacks in separate seasons during his career. So I think he's going to be a very, very good prospect as well. Somebody who could be a multi-time Pro Bowler and very productive in the league, especially playing next to other NFL players, right? You got to think at Iowa State, they had other good guys there, but not the talent like Alabama or Georgia, right? So when he goes and plays against now with other NFL talent, he could explode even more on the NFL stage.
Yeah.
Damian, where do you see him going? What day or what round do you think he'll go?
I think he's a round 1 guy, either late round 1 or early round 2, I would say.
Okay.
I think what was so impressive about him is kind of what you're touching on, Damian, is just how athletic he is. And you know, I was telling Truth, actually before the show, we were talking about him because, you know, back when I was an offensive lineman, it was a nightmare to go against guys like him because he was so fast. That he was working the offensive lineman, and it looked like these O-linemen had like, you know, their brains were turned into pretzels because they couldn't figure out where he was going to be, what move he was going to pull. That was a point that I hadn't even really thought about, but you're completely right. I mean, he can do it all, and he can blow up the lineman too. You know, he can do that. That's impressive. Only thing I'm thinking maybe put on muscle, kind of similar to Thibs from last year when he came out. It's just something that in the long run he's going to have to do to just make sure that he can excel and keep that going at the NFL level. Because you know, you're going against a big offensive lineman against the Cowboys. It's going to be very tough for him to maneuver those guys as well as he did against, you know, the West Virginias and Oklahoma States of the world. So just a thought on that, but he's still a very phenomenal player, no doubt.
Yeah.
All right.
Next, what are you laughing at, Truth?
I'm just reading Trudeau's comment on the comment board about me being evicted because I got no furniture.
That's it, Truth. It's like you shouldn't have told everybody what happened, man. You should have left them guessing. Like, all right, find out why Truth doesn't have any furniture in his house right now.
Well, the bottom line, guys, and there, I'm relocating to another golf job, a few hours south of where I live right now. So that's kind of why. So.
Yeah, North Carolina was too cold for Truth, so he moved down to South Carolina. And no wonder you haven't been to a Giants game in so many years, man. If it got 55 degrees, you wouldn't even bother coming up to New York.
No, yes, I would. Yes.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on moving to South Carolina. You guys are both in vacation destinations, right? Aren't you in Phoenix, Damian?
Yeah, I'm out here in Arizona. So yeah, it's always good weather for like 8 months out of the year. I would avoid the summer here in Arizona, but outside of the summertime, come out here is a good time.
All right, sounds good. I will definitely hold both of you to it and invite myself over unannounced at some time. Chicago are pretty brutal, so appreciate the offer. All right, man.
Sure,
Damian, back to you with one of the players here. Nolan Smith out of Georgia. Love these Georgia guys, man. They are constantly producing NFL talent. Just another classic example of it. What are your thoughts on him?
Another great athlete. Now, he's a little undersized at 6'2", 238 for the edge position, but he does make up for it with the great athletic ability. You know, ran a 4.39 40, 1.52 split on that 40. So very, very explosive. 41-inch vertical, 10.8 broad jump. So let's let you know this guy's a crazy good athlete. And one thing that jumped out on tape with him is that not only can he rush, but he also can kind of step back in coverage a little bit. So if you want to go ahead and have him, you know, step back and fool the defense a little bit, fake the blitz and step back and get some of those easy interceptions when the quarterback doesn't see the linebacker drop back, he could definitely do that as well. He didn't have the crazy production of a Will Anderson or Will McDonald, but I think that production can be there in the pros. So he's going to be somebody who I look to see if he's productive right away, or if it takes a little more time to put some muscle on him because he is a little smaller. So maybe he's not productive week 1, but maybe week 8, week 10, you start to see him really make an impact on his team.
Yeah, that's funny you bring that. I didn't even realize he ran that good of a 4. He ran a 4.39. He doesn't look like a player that can run a 4.39. That's incredible.
Let me just say something about Nolan Smith. I think his only issue is going to be, I think he's one of the best athletes that we're going to be talking about tonight. I think he's going to be phenomenal when it plays away from him in track and pursuit. Yeah. I think his biggest issue is going to be against, like you mentioned earlier, Spartan, big linemen coming at him, if they run the ball at him, can he hold the line and can he make plays when the play's coming at him on the run? That's going to be his thing. I think everything else, like Damian said, I think he's going to be great in coverage. Of course, he's going to probably do very well in rushing the passer because he's so quick, great bend. I think that's his only issue, and he'll be tested, I think, on that by the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one knock that I had on him too. He would get dominated a little bit by offensive linemen, and again, I'd rather deal with a guy that has to size up a little bit because you can't coach speed, right? So he's got that locked down. He's got the athletic ability, right? So another good guy that, to your point, Damian, I don't expect him to ball out day 1, but come year 2, I mean, he can be a phenomenal player, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's also hard to put the size on when you only he's not 6'4", he's 6'2", so he's limited with his body frame. How much can you put on? I won't hurt his speed or quickness,
Right. Yeah, no, I understand. But still, phenomenal all around. And I'm trying to think, is he a late day 1, early day 2 guy? Is that what they're kind of looking at?
I think he's going day 1. I think he's going day 1.
Okay. All right.
So he's one of those guys where the measurables will probably put him up further than just the tape.
Okay. Gotcha. So they're going to be like, all right, stats are fine, but just with this guy's frame and his body work, I mean, he's going to go higher. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I just see a lot of stupid mock drafts out there that are just all over the place. And you get kind of towards like the, outside the top 15 and people don't really know what they're doing anymore. They place these guys all over the place. So
it's hard. Yeah.
It's tough. Next guy on the list is Charlie Thomas. So we're kind of going to another school that, no one really talks about. I don't know the last time Georgia Tech was good. It certainly must be tough to play Georgia every year. Damian, how did you feel about this guy?
He is the definition of a tweener, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you see him, he's somebody, if he was a bit faster and a bit more athletic, he'd be a great big cornerback. If he was a bit bigger and could keep that same speed, he'd be a great smaller linebacker, right? So I think because he is the ultimate tweener, he's going to be more of a special teams guy in the pros. He can make an impact as like a backup linebacker, come in for certain things and rush in. But I don't think he's going to be a star in the league. I see him being more of like a 3rd round, 4th round guy, maybe even later than that because of his lack of size. But he does have good instincts, which, definitely help you out. But the lack of athleticism and size will hurt him come draft time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I noted kind of to your point there was like, I saw him read plays and then, get running backs that weren't running towards his lane. He does that very well. But I just think overall the guy kind of lacked that ability in the tape that I saw to wow me. Like there wasn't anything about his rush attack. Wasn't really anything about his running attack. He had some good plays, no doubt. But there wasn't anything there that really gave him an oomph. And he's not the only guy on this list that we're talking about. He's the only guy on your list that we're talking about that I felt that way towards. But yeah, overall, I didn't really get that vibe from him that, he's going to be a complete baller in the NFL, but still a solid pick for whoever gets him in the mid rounds.
Yeah, he's got the body frame too to put some weight on at 6'4". He could probably put 15 pounds on to get up to about 230. So, it's possible that he could be, like Damian says, a good rotational, good depth piece on defense and special teams.
Yeah. And then, Damian, for your last guy here, Derek Hall out of Auburn. Auburn has not been too successful in the last few years, but I mean, I'm going to let you get into it, but I love this dude. Go ahead.
Yeah, nah, he's another one with very good size, good athleticism, 6'3", 254. And his long arms was something that I saw that scouts are talking about, which really helps you as a defensive end or outside rusher, being able to use that stiff arm to get around and not let the offensive lineman engage with you. And that's something he'll have an advantage with. And he's been very productive. And one thing that stood out to me is his ability to not get fooled on the read option. Right? Like a quarterback is faking that handoff. He knows how to be patient and not get fooled by that and rush in, which is very important now in NFL when you have the Justin Fields and the Lamar Jacksons and Daniel Joneses of the world out there. It's very important to be disciplined when it comes to that type of play and also in RPO action. So I think that's something that he'll be effective in very early in his career. And I see him being a very good player who, depending on which system he can go to, can be very, very productive very early.
Yeah, that's a good point. That I didn't even consider that one. What system? And really, for all these guys, like there are systems that they'll probably work better in than others. And I think the one thing that I love so much about Derek Hall is how much. I mean, he really won a lot of battles against a lot of tough offensive linemen, and it wasn't even like slow. And he got there, and he's showing his toughness. Because I don't want to get into players that are like, they're showing toughness. I mean, he was really dominating some of these tough battles, and he got to the quarterback almost every time. And I found that, he did a good job of chasing scrambling quarterbacks. Really, look, I mean, for any NFL team, I feel like you got to have one guy that can at least specialize in that because that's something that's extremely challenging. You might have a good defense, but if you're going against a guy that can get out of the pocket and then start running on you, you got to be able to defend that. And the Giants have not been good at that historically. And I think this is a dude that could totally offer that value to the Giants. I believe any team that gets him is lucky. And I will go as far as to say that he's my second favorite player that we're going over tonight. And the Giants have a chance. If hopefully no other NFL team feels as good about him as I do, so that he might drop to the Giants, but he'd be a good ad truth to finally get to the quarterbacks in the NFC East, man, because we're dying out here when it comes to that.
Yeah, he's a good player. He really is.
Yeah. The only thing that he's bad at, in my view, is tackling. Like his tackling is too high, and he does get to running back sometimes, and they get an extra couple yards on him. That's more workable. That's I can live with that for now. All right, Truth, we're on to your guys now, and this is a really interesting one because I think I heard correctly. This is going to be the first likely draft pick of a military academy player as high as he's about to go in a very long time. There have been, West Point or Navy Academy guys that have gone to the NFL. But typically the route is they have to go to the Army and Navy first. They just made an adjustment recently that will allow them to go to the NFL. Once they're done with their football careers, then they go to the military.
Right, yeah. And you stole my thunder on that. That's what I was going to say. They got
you can say it again in your voice anyway.
Well, yeah, I'll explain that first. Andre Carter, he's going to be, once his playing career is over, this is a new rule they put in, I think since 2019. Once he's done with his NFL career, he has to have 5 years of service and then another 3 years as a reserve. So he has to put 8 years of service time into the Army once his NFL career is over. In the past, that wasn't the case. Roger Staubach is probably the most popular one I can think of that had to serve his time before Dallas can get him on their roster. So. But this kid's good. I mean, he had his breakout year last year. He had 14 and a half sacks last year. Big kid, long arms. But, what's lost in all this is that he's pretty darn good in coverage for his size, 6'6", 255, 260. Mm-hmm. So he's gonna go. It all depends, again, how the draft unfolds in the first 20 picks and see what's going on, because I'm expecting a lot of wide receivers and cornerbacks going in those first 20 picks. Probably half of those picks are going to be those two positions, I'm guessing. And so he could fall into early second round. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen for him. First maybe 10, 15 picks in the second round. Again, he's got good length. with a long frame, and he's got a good, relentless motor, and that's what I like to see in a especially an edge.
Yeah, he had 15 and a half sacks last year. That was pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I was going from memory. I said 14 and a half. I wasn't sure.
Oh, I actually missed that part. I was looking at you the whole time. I must have missed it. Like, I will say this. I don't know if he really got the quarterback and completely wowed me. This is a little bit similar to Charlie Thomas, in my opinion. Like, he did pretty good, but there was nothing that he did that was like, oh man, this guy's going to ball out the next level. But I'm still rooting for the guy because I think it would be an incredible story for any team that gets him, right. And they got a guy that went to the West Point Academy. Odds are he's probably going to be a pretty good leader, right? If he becomes that guy that steps up and becomes a complete baller at the NFL level. I mean, what team, what fan base wouldn't love the fact that they have somebody like that, right? And it's pretty honorable that, at the end of all this, no matter what, right, if he signs a $100 million contract for a second contract, at the end of all that, man, he's going to the military and he's going to serve his duty. That's pretty cool. And I do think they're doing a service now. 8 of these players, right, where originally they would have had to be in the service for 5 years out, which I understand the obligation there, but it does provide these players now the opportunity to really build themselves and exceed in the NFL before they do that, which is pretty cool. So really hoping this guy excels. I wasn't too wowed, but I'm not knocking on the guy. That's just my view, and I could totally be wrong about that.
You don't have a fuzzy feeling about him, huh?
No, I didn't really get there. Like if we got to the second round and it was him, and it was I mean, if it was Derek Hall, you know what I'm doing, but like, between him and any of the previous guys that we kind of covered, I'd probably go with everybody else.
Okay.
But I want him to prove me wrong. I'm absolutely rooting for the guy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great story. I love that they changed the rule. And you don't want to take away these athletes, prime young years, then have them, have that obligation for their service and then join. So it's definitely better now to have them join afterwards. So I love that. And watching him, one thing that he'll be able to do right away, even, especially now with NFL teams doing these quick plays where defensive linemen have no chance to get there, he can just raise those arms up. He'll be able to block a few passes down and definitely help some players out because of his size. So I like that coming in right away. And like you mentioned, because he's coming from that background, he'll be somebody who this type of the schedule of the NFL and the workload, that type of stuff won't bother him, right? He'll be right away, the training camp and all that stuff. He'll be ready to go through all that. So I think that it'll be a good pick for whoever does get him. And it is a good story.
Yeah, that's a good point about like what they have to go through, right? He's going to be ready to kind of roll with like whatever workload, because one of the things that these West Point Navy Academy guys have to deal with is that when they're doing football camp their freshman year, they also have to do like the I don't know what they call it. There's a proper term. I'm just going to call it Hell Week, where they have to go through a lot of challenging like kind of courses and everything like that that put a lot of stress on the body. And he had to do that like alongside going to the football camp, which has to be brutal for like any 18-year-old, 19-year-old going through it. Again, won't equate to him being a great player, but like you're right, that mental prepness, he's going to have that probably beyond a lot of these other guys. I mean, not saying if you went to Alabama, you're not going to deal with that with Sabins and whatnot. He will, but it's definitely different for sure.
Yeah, and listen, keep in mind, NFL teams, you want to have talent. Absolutely, you want talented players, but when they interview these guys and they see the kind of makeup these guys have, and I'm sure this kid is very mature, like you said, leadership qualities. Those things go a long way, and that's one thing that Joe Shane loves. He looks for guys with high quality character men, so I'm not saying the Giants would take him. I'm just saying that there are teams out there that look at that very highly, and it's important to them.
Well, honestly, I mean, not only Shane. I mean, look, we're also dealing with Brian Dable. He's an upstate New York guy, right? And then we're also dealing with Mara, and we're talking about Mara, who I mean would absolutely love to have this guy, right? So if they're between like a couple different prospects at the second round pick, I have no doubt the Giants are going to make a lunch for somebody like that. That's a scenario I see unfolding if they got to that point. But again, I'm not saying Mayor's like cutting throats to make sure they get him, but no doubt it'd be something special for anybody's fan base.
I think he'll be gone actually by the time the Giants pick at 57. To be honest with you, I think he'll be gone by then.
Okay. All right. Well, then the Giants probably won't get the chance then to decide. We're moving along so quickly through the show. Then we just spent like 8 minutes on this guy. All right.
Not to talk about with him.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Well, there's a lot to talk about this next guy too because his brother plays for the Giants.
Oh, I did recognize that last name.
It's Aziz's brother, BJ Ojulari. Now, I don't know if historically the Giants have ever had brothers play on the team. Some teams have had that. I don't remember the Giants ever doing that.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but the Giants have been around since like 1925 or 26. It could have been. We could have had that. I don't know. But this kid is almost a mirror image of his brother as a player. When you look at his body size, he looks like his brother. But might be a little bigger now because he put some size on. He's got great bend, just like his brother. He's a good player. Had a good year with LSU this year. And he's another guy that you keep hearing, no matter what, in terms of what mock draft you're looking at, some say first round, some say second round. I got him for round 2. I don't have him for round 1, but who knows? Someone could fall in love with him and pick him late in the first round. But he's a good player. He can play. He can definitely rush the passer. He's not bad against the run. He may be his weakest might be in coverage, but you can get better at that if you work on it. So I think this kid could be a good player for whoever gets him. And I don't think it'll be the Giants.
Let me ask you something, Damian. I'll ask you, and I'll share my thoughts on this. But the idea of one of these outside linebackers. I mean, how important is it to you that they can cover?
I guess it depends on your system and how you run your defense, right? Because some defenses, their outside linebackers are just edge rushers. That's what they do.
Yes.
And they just rush ahead. And other ones, they want to have their guys drop back more often. You think about a team like Cincinnati, who likes to drop all their guys in coverage a lot. You want to have linebackers who can cover in that system. So it really depends on what you're doing. Me being a Saints fan, we like to run a lot of cover 2 man. So our guys are going to be running and rushing in, and the linebackers may drop back in coverage from time to time. So you want to have guys who are versatile. So if your team is one of those teams, you definitely want to have somebody who can drop back in coverage, like we mentioned earlier with Nolan Smith. I think he's somebody who will be able to drop back in coverage. If you have one of those teams that likes to run a lot of zone, you probably pick him over somebody who can only rush.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's considerable by system. You're right, and especially if these guys are good at covering the tight ends, because I mean, look, you get to like a 3rd round pick, the Giants might look for a guy that specializes in that. Because you tell me, I don't know if the Saints have this problem. But the Giants have not been able to cover tight ends since. I mean, it's brutal every time we watch. In fact, I think who's the Saints tight end back in like 2010, 2011? Who was that?
Oh, it's my Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, he cooked us every time.
There's a lot of people. He had a couple of years that were all pro years.
There was a while.
Yeah. He had a good run.
Yeah. 2012 game against you guys. That was Sean Payton's off year. I think the Giants blew him out of the water, like 50s, whatever it was. But like up to that point, I mean, God Almighty, truth. Every time the Giants played the Saints, we got our boat rocked.
It was definitely some good games in there for sure. Some high scoring ones back in those days when we didn't have a defense at all. So I definitely remember those. Yeah.
Oh man, Saints were a fun team to watch, no doubt about it. All right, Truth. Let's go on to Kansas State. Again, another team that balled out this last year that typically sucks. Felix Anudike Uzoma. Tell me about him, man.
Oh,
First of all, I'm commending you. Saying that last name. I'm commending you for pronouncing his name correct.
Oh, I gotta watch a video to make sure. I'm not taking any guesses tonight. Not on that one.
Yeah, he had a very good year this year, and again, Kansas State had a very good team this year. Although they had a bad final game, not final game. They lost. I think they lost to TSU, they beat TSU, in that
No, the
classic overtime game.
and they had to play Alabama, and like most teams that play Alabama, they meet their maker pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, this kid has a good body frame. He's got long arms. He actually plays. When I watch some of his film, he plays at a 2-point and a 3-point. So he's got some flexibility there. Very good rushing the passer. Kid like this, I like to see him get a little stronger, at the next level. But I think this kid could be a good player. Again, it all depends on the right system he goes to. I think I don't know if this is a giant pick for the Giants, a right fit for him. But I think wherever he goes in the right system, he'll do well. But he's got a lot of upside, and I think this kid. What do I have him down? I have him as a late second-round pick, and so that's right where the Giants are picking. But if you saw my mock draft, I have him going a different direction than round 2.
He anchored a good defense there. There's no doubt about it with this guy. I mean, he played good football, very formidable, attack, if you will. But I would see him as a day 2 guy. I'm not going to say he didn't wow me. He had some plays that did it. He just didn't do it as consistently.
Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, not wow you. He ain't going to wow you now.
Yeah. Tell you what, though. You know what? He looked like he would have been good in like the Giants, system under Coughlin and Steve Spagnuolo. A little bit more so, almost as like a defensive end in the 4-3 defense. Is how we used to run it, where we still had a lot of athletic guys at that 4-3 spot.
Yeah, good depth piece in that.
He would have, in my opinion, he would have been solid in that. I don't really know if he would do anything in our system, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next guy, Tennessee. Tennessee came alive this past year. Byron Young, Truth. Tell me about this guy.
Well, this guy is a little bit shorter in terms of your edge rushers. He is 6'2", but he's got a little bulk on him, 250. Had a good year with them. I think that lack of length's going to hurt him a little bit. But, again, I always say it's like a broken record. It all depends where he goes and how they utilize him. But he has good bend. He's pretty good against the run. I didn't see anything that wowed me. It comes to pass coverage. So that's something like Damian says that probably wasn't his role at Tennessee, being in pass coverage. But he had a good year, as did the Tennessee team did, until they had some injuries. But I had this guy slated going on day 3, early day 3 in the draft. That's what I'm seeing. I think there's a lot of positions out there, like we talked about, Spartan, the cornerback position, very deep. I mean, we can see 20 guys picked in the first 2 days in that draft for us cornerback alone.
Yeah.
And we do have wide receivers, obviously, in day 2 and 3 that are going to come off the board. So I see him as a day 4 pick. Good player, good rotational player, can play special teams probably to make the team. So again, right team, right fit, he'll probably do better.
Yeah, and we're talking about stories with Andre Carter. We might as well talk about him too. I mean, he's 25, right? And that's always a little bit of a knock. But if you actually read his, the background, his story, and everything like that, he was barely recruited coming out of college. I don't even think that. Or I'm sorry, coming out of high school. I don't even think he played high school football. I think there was a gap year or 2 between him playing football and him walking on at Georgia Military College, which is a junior college. And then after 1 year there, then he went over to Tennessee and then became the player that he is. That's probably the most impressive story in that regards. I haven't heard very many stories since J.J. Watt where anyone's ever was not playing football for any period of time between the NFL and high school. That's really impressive. He must have put in a lot of work to become as good as he did. It said he was working at Dollar General for a couple of years or whatever that time frame was between that and then when he walked on at a junior college, right? So truly impressive story. And if he got that much better in that much time with football, I'd love to see if he can continue it to the NFL.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. No, that's a great story on him. And I'm somebody who, for a short period of time, was stocking shelves at Dollar General. Pretty sure he got stronger stocking them shelves at Dollar General.
Yeah.
Got him ready for the NFL too.
Man. All right. Sorry about the delay there. That was on me. All right. Truth. We're on to our last guy here, man. Nick Hampton, Appalachian State. Took down Texas A&M. That was one of the biggest upsets in college football in the last several years, right? So Appalachian State's known for that. They took down Michigan in 2007. What did he do to help his team?
Yeah. Again, small school here. Got put on the map because they're beating Michigan years back. This kid is a pretty darn good player. I watched some film on him, and I watched like 3 games, and I noticed that he was like a rover. They moved him around. They moved him on the inside, moved him on the outside. Sometimes his hand was in the dirt. He's only 6'2", about 236. So he's not overly big, but he is explosive. We talked about that 10-yard sprint. He on film in game, he looks quick. He looked quick in the games I saw, and I wouldn't have a problem with this kid being picked on a late day 3. If you're looking to fill your roster for special teams and as a depth piece for the Giants, I think this kid has a lot of ability, and he actually made the NFL freak list, which is pretty.
Freak list.
What's that?
What is it? The NFL freak list?
Yeah, that's the guy, Feldman. I forget his first name. That he puts together top 100 prospects that he considers freaks based on their speed, strength, numbers that they do in combines. And this kid actually made. He was number 84, and also on that list was actually Andre Carter was on that list too. I didn't say that earlier, but. He's not a bad player. He can also play in coverage, pass coverage. So here's a kid that could be a sleeper. If you consider him a sleeper, I do, because he's a late pick in my mind. That he can come in and contribute to a team right away as a rookie.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, look, let me leave this. Were you gonna say something, Damian? My bad.
No, I was just gonna say I love that breakdown right there of him and how he can be productive, especially on special teams. Someone like him, and also a player going through those journeys of going through smaller schools and also going through having to earn play time. I like guys like that because when they come into the league, they're not expecting anything. They're coming in ready with their head down, ready to work right away. So I think guys like that could really be sneaky, productive players going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And if you don't mind, Spartan, I don't know where you want to go right now. I have a dark horse guy.
Well, that's what I want right now, right? Because we talk about these guys, and again, Damian, agree, and Truth has said the same thing, man. These depth pieces that could definitely provide value. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I want to find out who's going to be that guy that's a 5th round pick, and then balls out unsurprisingly becomes a Pro Bowler. I don't really, honest to God, have any guys that I've looked at that I feel that way. Damian, Truth, if there's anybody that we did not cover tonight that you want to talk about, feel free to bring them up and let the world know, who.
Damian, want to go first? You have anybody in your that you want to talk about?
I don't have anybody for the dark. I don't have anybody for the dark horse, Truth. So I was waiting to see yours.
Okay, well, I got a guy.
Of course, man.
Okay, I got a guy who I started watching him after the senior week, and then I saw him at the combine. I watched him. I'm not going to say his name yet. And then I watched a lot of film on him over the last few weeks. And here's a kid like the kid we just covered, Hampton. He moved around for his team. He played for Louisville. He has a very unusual first name. The first name is Yahya, I think it's pronounced, Diaby. That's his name, Yahya Diaby, for Louisville. He's played tackle. He's played end. He's plays two stance on the edge. He had 9 sacks for them this year. Very explosive, very quick off the snap. And he has the body of 6'3", about 263. And I have a funny feeling, if the right team gets this kid, they're going to put him exclusively in a 2-point stance. They're going to make him be an edge. And I watch him, his body, the way he plays. He reminds me of a former Giant, Marcus Golden. Now, Golden, if you remember, he played a lot in college in 3-point stance and 2-point, moved around just like this. And then he came to the pros and they put him in a 2 stance. And he had some pretty good years. One particular with the Giants. I think he had double-digit sacks with the Giants that one year. This kid, I actually have the Giants drafted him in round 4. I think Wink Martindale is going to like a kid like this who is versatile, who can play inside and play outside, who can stand up, who can rush from the edge or even rush from the middle, move him around. So this is my dark horse. Going on a limb, I'm saying this guy is going to be a good player down the road, and he could make a Pro Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. You really think so, huh?
Well, I like what I saw in the combine. I like the film on his kid. Another one that plays hard, has a high motor, a lot of enthusiasm. That's what you'd like to see, a lot of passion. And I like the fact that he plays all over. He moves around. That is something that a lot of defensive coordinators love to see. It makes them be creative in their defensive schemes, you know. And I'm not saying this kid's going to be a wonder in his rookie year, but I think this is a kid who has a chance to grow and develop and get good and be that kind of player that can give you quality snaps and, you know, maybe have a good year like a Golden had one year, making double digits in sacks. So I'm going with him as my dark horse.
And you want to hear something wild? We were just talking about Byron Young was playing at Georgia Military College as well. So did Yaya Diaby, man.
Wow.
They both played together for a year together at junior college.
Wow. Okay.
Man, I feel bad. Like if you can't play junior colleges, but like imagine if you're like, you know, your University of South Carolina, and you're like, all right, we're gonna play this, you know, get an easy win this year against this scrub, you know, Georgia Military College, junior college. We got this. That would have been a really bad mistake, man.
Yeah.
I went to Michigan State, and you know, I remember my senior year, we had Utah State for that game. You know, where you pretty much your school pays the team to fly out some crappy team and beat them. But they had Jordan Love with the Packers now, and I mean, the fact that we got out of that game alive was a miracle. And of course, Iowa did that. They paid North Dakota State, and I don't know why the hell they agreed to that one. They paid them to fly out. North Dakota State beats them and flies home with the duffel bags. I love it when that happens, just not against my guys.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, those are always great stories. And you just can imagine if you're another junior college and you're playing against guys who are going to have 2 future NFL rushers on the same line, that had to be torturous.
Oh yeah, absolutely right. Like you're an offensive lineman trying to like, all right, let me work on my game so I can transfer even just a D1 AA college, and then you're just getting worked every day in practice, man. That's going to ruin your highlight tapes. But you know, impressive for both these guys. Well, look, Damian, man, I wanted to ask you because you are you're a Saints fan, as you said, and you know we always want to ask like one special question of the guest. The one thing I wanted to ask you is, who are the Saints taking this year?
Oh man! So first round, I can see us going after that tight end from Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely can see that. If he's going, I can see us going defensive tackle. Maybe the defensive tackle from Baylor. He's somebody who the name's in my mind right now. I do apologize.
Yeah, he's the big guy, right? The big Samoan.
Yes. Big
Siaki,
guy.
It's Siaki, but I don't know his last name. It's
Siaki Ika.
Yeah.
IKA.
Ika. Yes, Ika. He's somebody who he looks like your normal, like your old school kind of run clogging defensive tackle. But he's also explosive enough to make that pressure up the middle that you need nowadays, right? If you have somebody who can rush up the middle, it just, you know, messes up the offense so much for having that immediate pressure come right up the middle. I like him a lot. And I think that he'll be able to be productive alongside of Cam Jordan. As Cam Jordan gets a little older, we need somebody to take some pressure off of him. So I would like that pick if the tight end from Notre Dame isn't there.
Where are they picking again? I'm trying to remember.
We're 28.
28th pick?
Yeah.
What they do to get that pick? They weren't good enough for that one, right? So who they trade with?
No, so we got that pick from Denver because Denver got Sean Payton.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. All right, man. Completely missed that one.
Well, let me see now. I'm thinking about 28th pick, and you mentioned that guy, Michael Mayer. It just brings back memories of Spartan and Craig making a bet where he's going to get picked, and that's right where you have the top lid of your bet. Wasn't it Spartan at 28? You said if Mayer is not, you made a bet say if Mayer's picked 28 or better.
I think it was 28. We can. Fortunately, this is recorded, right? So I'll go back and look what that defining number was. But yeah, I mean Meyer. I mean the thing about that dude is he's that ideal tight end. When you have an elite tight end, I'll always argue that the value that brings. Damian, I think we were just talking about on Twitter the other day. If they're too fast for linebackers and they're too big for cornerbacks, you're kind of entering that class where it's like Gronk, Ertz. And they add so much value because they're just dependable, and it actually alleviates the need a little bit for like a wide receiver one. Now, it's always tough to assess that out of tight ends because you look at Ertz and Kelsey, and they were all mid-round picks. Gronk, I think Gronk was a first round, but it was like first round pick 30. So
questions because it's back.
Yeah, so it's always tough to know those, who's going to ball out to that level. But if you get one of those guys, man, the value there is immense. And that would do the Saints wonders if they got him.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you add that type of versatile tight end, you mentioned the years when we had Jimmy Graham, that made our offense so much better having a tight end who can go out wide, who you can have in the slot, who basically was unguardable because of his size and his speed.
Yeah.
So when you have a guy like that, like you mentioned earlier, Truth, about defensive guys being versatile and how it helps defensive coordinators be more, creative. Offensive coordinators love to be creative with tight ends like that. So I would love to have that guy added to the Saints offense and, help Derek Carr and make a smooth transition into being our quarterback,
Yeah, if he's there. I think him or Kincaid would do wonders for that offense, like you said. Absolutely.
You have a big target, no doubt, for Carr.
And they're also. I know we're jumping different position here, but they're also talking. I know that we were talking about the kid out of Georgia, Donnell Washington. But I'm seeing that he may go late first, early second now. I'm seeing that he's starting to move up. So he had a good pro day. So I think we're going to be shocked that the tight ends are going to go off the board quicker than we thought.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think Pitts, right, who went to Atlanta a couple years ago. I think he was the highest drafted tight end in years.
Yeah, what was he? Seventh, or something like that?
I think he was fifth. Pitts fifth.
He was fifth. Okay, that's pretty high.
That's Lions got Hawkinson a couple years ago. Now that was a weird one. I mean, he was a good player, but I don't really know if the value was there for that high of a pick. But yeah, Pitts went high, and Pitts brings value. I mean, we all know.
Yeah. Now, if Pitts gets a real quarterback, I think his ceiling is just so high, high.
Yeah, it couldn't agree more. I mean, Atlanta is a team that could really explode if they get the quarterback situation right. But anyway, guys, coming to the end of the show here. Any final thoughts on the outside linebackers this year? Any final thoughts whatsoever?
Yeah, Damian, you go first.
My final thoughts after doing some homework and looking at these guys is a very, very deep class. Of outside linebackers and rushers. I think that there's going to be a lot from this class. When we look back from some years now, it may be one of those classes that we look at 2023 draft class when it comes to rushers was really, really deep and really good. And you'll have some surprises like a Yaya, who may be a guy that people don't know of who can be a Pro Bowler because of their production. So I think this will be a very, very good class years from now. 3-4 years from now, we'll look back at it and oh man, 2023 was a really good rush class.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? If the cornerback position wasn't so deep this year, we probably would hear more about the defensive and edge class, the outside linebackers, I mean. But you know, when you have 4 quarterbacks projected to go in the first 4 or 5 picks, and you have these cornerbacks who I'm reading, there are some places, sites that think we could get 6 to 8 taken in the first round. That's pretty impressive. You know, I think 2014 there was 9 taken, and that's been the record. So, like you said, Damian, this is a very deep class, more than we realize. And like you said, years from now, we're going to look back and say, man, look at these guys, you know, and that was a good class, 2023.
Well, time will tell. I'm definitely excited to see these players unfold, the draft unfold, and how many guys do end up going number 1. And then, of course, if the Giants end up taking an outside linebacker. So, you know, lots to look forward to. Look, guys, we're coming up. We're about a month away now from the 2023 NFL draft. We're going to have our draft show. You know, we're going to have some of you guys on that are the fans in the audience right now. You know, we'll get to that when we get to that. But we're just looking forward to that because it's always a fun night, fun couple nights. But Damian, I want to thank you so much as our guest for coming on the show. Always a blast, you know, having different people on. We can't wait to have you on again, you know, in the future. And then Truth, been doing this for a couple years now, right? So I mean, we're coming down to the end. We only have a few positions left. So tune in next week. Next week is what are we doing next week, Truth?
Well, I think our very own Nikki is coming on with the wide receivers. That's the plan.
Yeah, and guys, this is because it's very likely the Giants are going to take a wide receiver this pick. So this is the episode that a lot of you have all been waiting for. But again, Damian, thank you for everything, man. Giants fans, take care. Have a great weekend.
All right. Say it, boys.